Tom, my sympathies to you and to others who were so close to the crew, including Mr. Rush. But let me, if you don't mind, get a sense, since you had a chance to talk to him, that is Rush, before their departure, was he worried about anything? Was he saying anything? What?
No, Stockton and I have known each other for less than a year. We were working together to bring his footage as well as his vision, which was just described very, very nicely about travel and exploration into deep water and the unknown, into our Titanic exhibition, and using the newest footage from the submersible, but also to encourage not just diving to the Titanic, but this exploration of hydrothermal vents and other wreck sites and other natural wonders in the world. I mean, he was somebody I've read some prompt earlier. People were talking about true explorers. I mean, these guys were to the core. I mean, PH has dove the Titanic at 35 times. I mean, I got involved in this industry in 1998. PH had already been in it for 25 years. I mean, there's no, sadly, it's as a friend of, we're in a group of all of us are texting one another who are connected to this world, or those who know each other. And a close friend said it's almost poetic that the PH would find his final piece in a place right at the bow of the Titanic. It's crazy in a way. I think we're all happy that it's over. And we know, I think a lot of people believed at the time that they lost communication at that depth. It likely was an implosion, which is what it sounds like it's coming out now. I just, want to send my support and love to all the family members of people that are on that board, that ship that I knew, and those that I didn't know. And hopefully there's, maritime lessons that are learned from this, like a lot of people are talking about, like the Titanic taught us so many lessons, that this is a modern day tragedy, and adding to that list of people who perished on that site.
It's interesting talking to you, Tom, because you always give such a great view of the people and these individuals who are bigger than life, including Paul-Henri Nargeole, who's this iconic global figure, this Mr. Titanic, who knows it so well, and he goes by the nickname PH. There's something very refreshing about that. I am curious, and you mentioned what happened here. Maybe the families, yourself and others, can be consoled by the fact that whatever happened, we don't know the details behind this, catastrophic implosion, but that it was likely quick. What do you think?
I think that's what we all, anybody who dives at that depth realizes that. Even me, I'm a novice. I was fortunate to be an observer on board a vessel to dive to the Titanic. But we all knew if something went wrong that was going to be bad, it was an instant. We used to always say, obviously you'd never have a pinprick, but if a pinprick, I was explaining this to my 11-year-old daughter about an hour ago about what pressure is, and the amount of extreme pressure on any vessel at that depth. The idea of 6,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. And I was then telling her the difference between implosion and explosion and what that means. And I don't know what happened. I'm not a scientist or can tell you about stress fractures and carbon fiber hulls. That's not what I do, but I'm sure it was very quick. And I hope I should say that it was very quick for all of those passengers.
Tom, they're working backwards to put a tick-tock on all of this. Very hard to do, as you were pointing out. But what we have learned here, just looking at the timeline, is that last Sunday, June 18th, when they departed, it was 1 hour and 45 minutes before all communications ceased from the submersible. So I'm going to work backwards on, not that you have to tell me the exact depth they were at, but if you're 1 hour and 45 minutes into what some have described like a slow free fall descent, an hour and 45 minutes, you'd still be substantially above the Titanic. So much of the earlier concerns that it got entangled in the wreckage don't seem borne out here, right?
Well, so again, I'm not an expert, but I'll say that the descent is somewhere between 2 and 2.5 hours. So if you're losing contact, which also loss of radio communication happens, it's not
Right.
necessarily uncommon. So if they were, it's so hard to speculate. It's really not my place to do so, but I feel they certainly were deep enough to where a catastrophic event could have taken place. If you're at 3,000 meters or you're at 3,800 meters, you're still a long way deep in the ocean, and the pressure is incredible. So I don't think we'll ever, I don't know if there's a little black box on board, something like that, or if it would even survive that type of situation. But I hope if for the families that they can get, that information will help give them what they need. But I think we all know these, particularly PH and Stockton, they're explorers, and they absolutely, all those people on board knew the risks they were taking. And I don't know the other three people, but I know that they wanted to be there. And so there's no better way to die than doing something you love.
Tom, the director, James Cameron, of course, of Titanic fame, he was leery of some of these submersibles, not this company in particular, but even his own, that are configured very, very differently. I don't believe there are any windows on those at all, but that it's dangerous. And he would keep reminding people, this isn't like a Disney ride. I'm probably quoting it, I apologize. But alerting people to the dangers of this. What do you think?
Well, James Cameron is an expert in deep water,
right.
Particularly deep water ocean cinematography. I mean, obviously his Titanic film was probably the most famous absolutely the most famous Titanic film of all time. But he has a special interest in the deep ocean, and I'm sure. I don't know all of what his opinion is on this sub versus another, but I know that he cares deeply about the deep ocean too, like PH, like Stockton. I know PH and James Cameron were friends. I'm sure Stockton and PH, they all probably know each other. It's a small community of people,
right?
And I think that, look, you were the sub that I dove in is called a Mir submersible, and that sub has been to the Titanic and those depths hundreds and hundreds of times. And so it's battle tested, so to speak. It's also a pressure sphere. So I think when you're pushing the limits of look at rockets going to space, look at, that's what Stockton, I think, was trying to do, was figure out a way for more people to be able to see the wonders of the ocean. And that was his dream and his vision. I think PH shared that same thing. And sometimes when you're doing new things and pushing the limits, terrible things happen.
2 of these 5 passengers, Tom, were members of this Explorers Club. I guess that's a unique fraternity of individuals who are into dangerous discovery as well. I don't know whether it's in all of their DNA, but risk is just an accepted part of it. You were talking about your friends you knew who were on this. Could you confirm that?
I mean, yeah, I think there's certain people who are explorers. That's look at history, right?
Right.
Absolutely, no doubt. The 2 men that were on board that ship that I knew, and I haven't talked to PH in many years, and I met Stockton this past year. But I know them and know what they were, who they were, and they were 100% explorers to the end. And it sounds like the other 4 gentlemen on board, three gentlemen on board, sorry, were absolutely wanted to follow in that path and set new ground. Obviously, they're very successful people. So I don't know. Yes, they knew the risks, and probably loved part of that.
Would you ever do something like this, Tom, again?
After my dive, my friends asked me that. This was before my first son was born when I did. And I said, absolutely 100%. I have to say that The mere submersibles that I was in are, they were tried and true and tested. I still feel very comfortable, but you definitely think twice after a day like today.
Yeah, absolutely.
But probably.
Probably.
I probably would.
All right. I had a feeling you'd answer that
The
way.
Titanic's been part of my life for a long, long time, and so any chance to be with her again is it's changed. My best friends in the world came out of my relationships from being associated with the Titanic on so many different levels. So, probably.
You know, Tom, I lied when I said that would be a last question, but I was curious what you thought there. I've read reports that the wreckage, inconceivable as it is, of the Titanic, it's been there, for 111 years, it won't be there much longer. Some say maybe within a decade, maybe two, it'll all be gone. What do you think of that?
You have this image now, I think, if the timing's right, of what we call rusticles that are sort of an iron ore eating bacteria that looks kind of like an icicle. So the rusticle, the name was come up with, I think, by a Canadian scientist named Roy Collymore. But they've been saying that for a long time.
They have, actually,
It's a big ship, and it is one of the things that makes it special today, too, is she's standing proud, as you can see from the footage. She's still upright, and there's a lot of metal, and there's not a lot of life, and there's not a lot of current. As you know, there's no light, so there's not. So I think wrecks deteriorate at different over different periods of time, depending upon their depth and depending upon what's in the sediment around them. But I remember in 1987, somebody said, in a decade she'll be a stain on the ocean floor. And she's still, from the footage I've seen today, she still looks pretty good because nobody's down there messing with it.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody's bumping into it. There's no tourist dives that are swimming through her. She's not in water with more life. So, I think she'll be there for a little while. But I'm no expert.
You're more of an expert than you think, Tom. And you're also very modest. But thank you, Tom, for taking the time to talk to us. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Again, to all those families, and I hope that we find whatever information that helps give people, what they need.
Yeah, and some closure. Tom, thank you for that.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.